The twin suns of Kareth Prime burned over the endless desert, turning metal towers into mirrors and glass streets into ribbons of heat. The Grand Bazaar stood at the heart of the trade city, crowded with voices, colors, and creatures from 100 worlds. Ships came and went every hour, bringing minerals, weapons, and slaves. In this world, humans were rare. Few had ever seen one alive. Commander Arya Valen stepped out from her hover carriage, her silver cloak sweeping behind her. She was tall and graceful, a diplomat of the Virel Empire. Her people ruled half the galaxy through trade and treaties, not war. But today, her mission was not about diplomacy alone. She had come to the bazaar to end a border dispute between two alien clans. As she moved through the noise of merchants shouting their prices, something caught her attention. A small crowd had gathered near a cage made of dark alloy. She heard laughter, cruel and sharp. Worthless savage, a traitor spat, kicking the bars. He cannot speak, cannot even beg. Look at him, filthy human. Arya paused. She had seen humans in old records, thin, pale creatures from a long-lost blue world called Earth. But the one in the cage was not weak. He sat still in the corner, his hands bound, his head bowed. His skin was covered in dust and dried blood. The crowd taunted him, throwing scraps of food and small stones, yet he did not move. His stillness carried strength, the kind that came from deep inside. Arya felt something stir within her, a strange sense of recognition. She stepped closer. The traitor noticed her and straightened quickly. "Ah, noble lady, are you interested in my new prize? A true human male. The last of his kind, captured on the frontier. Worth a fortune to any collector." Arya's calm eyes studied the man. "He looks nothing like the weak species your records describe." The traitor laughed. "That is because I feed him well. But he is dumb, useless, wild. Watch." He jabbed a rod through the bars. The metal tip sparked with current and struck the man's shoulder. The human flinched once, then lifted his head. His eyes met Arya's. They were not the eyes of a beast. They were cold, gray, and intelligent. In that moment, the noise of the bazaar seemed to fade. Arya saw not a slave but a soldier, someone who had seen war and lived through it. The human's gaze was steady, unbroken. It felt like looking into the heart of an ancient storm. The traitor raised the rod again, laughing. "See, no pain, just a savage. No feelings, no words." Arya's voice turned sharp. "Stop." But before the traitor could react, the human moved. His hand shot forward faster than anyone could see. The bar bent under his grip. He tore the metal apart as if it were paper. Sparks flew as the cage broke open. The crowd screamed. Some ran, others froze in shock. The human stepped out, his chest rising with heavy breaths. His wrists still bled from the shackles, but his eyes were calm. He looked like a man walking out of his grave. The traitor stumbled backward, terrified. "Guards! Guards!" Dozens of armored soldiers rushed in, pointing stun lances. The air filled with the hum of charged energy. Arya raised her hand. "Stand down." "Lady Valen," one of the guards said, "that creature is dangerous." "I said stand down," she repeated, her voice calm but iron hard. "He is under my protection." The guards hesitated. No one disobeyed a Virel commander. Slowly, they lowered their weapons. Arya turned to the traitor, who was shaking with fear. "How much do you want for him?" The traitor blinked. "My lady?" "I will buy his freedom," the man stammered. He broke imperial property. "He attacked me." Arya's silver eyes narrowed. "You provoked him. I will compensate for the damage." "But why, my lady?" the traitor whispered. Arya's answer was quiet but clear. "Because that savage is my future husband." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The guards looked at each other, unsure if they had heard correctly. The human tilted his head slightly, confusion flickering across his face, but Arya did not explain. She turned and walked toward her carriage. "Bring him with me." The traitor dared to speak again. "He will kill you, noble one." "He is nothing but—" Arya stopped and looked back. "Nothing but what?" "A man who refused to kneel?" The traitor fell silent. The human followed the guards without resistance. His steps were slow, heavy but controlled. When they reached Arya's transport ship, she ordered the guards to remove his bindings. They hesitated until she said again, "He is under my command." The ship lifted off, leaving the bazaar far behind. Inside, silence filled the cabin. The man sat across from her, his hands resting on his knees. He said nothing. The metal cuffs lay broken on the floor beside him. Arya watched him closely. "You understand me," she said softly. "I can see it in your eyes. Still he did not speak. You saved yourself from that cage, she continued. But I think you have escaped many cages before this one. His eyes flicked toward her, then away again. His voice, when it finally came, was deep and steady. You should have left me there. Arya leaned back in her seat. Why? Because you do not know what I am. I know what you are, she said. Human. He gave a bitter smile. That word means nothing here. It means everything, she said quietly. It means you survived. The ship hummed as it entered the high clouds, leaving the desert world below. Arya poured a glass of water and slid it across the table. Drink, she said. He looked at it for a long time before taking it. His hands trembled slightly. Elias, he said at last. My name is Elias Kane. Arya nodded. I am Arya Velen, commander of the Virel Empire. His eyes narrowed. Virel, the ones who burned Earth's colonies. Arya's throat tightened. That was before my time. Before mine too, he said. But we still pay for it. The silence between them grew heavy. Outside the viewport, stars stretched like white lines. Arya studied him. Why did you not fight sooner? I was waiting, he said simply. For someone to notice. She felt her chest tighten again. There was something both terrible and noble in his calmness. What will you do now that you are free? He looked out at the stars. Freedom is only a word. I have no world left, no people. Arya's voice softened. Then maybe you will find both again. He turned to her slowly. With you? She met his gaze without fear. With me. The ship descended into orbit around a Virel station, shining rings of metal turning slowly in the dark. Inside, officers saluted as Arya stepped out, the human walking behind her. Whispers spread instantly. Some looked at him with disgust, others with curiosity. No one spoke aloud. Arya led Elias to a private chamber. She handed him clean clothes and food. Rest, she said. Tomorrow we will talk. Elias looked at her for a long moment. Why did you call me your future husband? A faint smile touched her lips. Because it stopped them from killing you. He stared at her, unsure whether to thank her or warn her. But before he could speak, she added softly, and because I meant it. Elias froze. He did not understand this woman, an alien commander from a race that once destroyed his kind. Yet her eyes held something true. Arya turned away and looked out through the glass wall at the stars. They think humans are extinct, she said. But I have seen the fire in your eyes. It is not gone. Not yet. Behind her, Elias clenched his fists. He did not know what future awaited him, but for the first time in years he felt the faint pull of purpose. Somewhere beyond those stars, the old wars still whispered. And somewhere deep inside, a spark of humanity refused to die. Morning came softly to the Virel station. Golden light from the nearest sun spread across the steel floors, reflecting on the walls like flowing water. Commander Arya Velen stood before the wide window of her quarters, looking down at the world below. She had not slept. The image of Elias breaking the cage still lived in her mind. The strength in his eyes, the silence in his anger. Behind her, the door opened with a soft hiss. Elias stepped inside, clean and dressed in a plain dark uniform. His movements were slow but steady, every step controlled. He looked stronger now, though the cuts on his arms were still healing. You look better, Arya said. He gave a small nod. Better than a cage, she smiled slightly. You will not return to one while I live. Elias walked to the window. He stared at the silver rings of the station turning above the clouds. I still do not understand what you want from me. Arya turned to face him. Truth, that is all. Tell me what happened to your people. He was silent for a while. Then his voice came, quiet but heavy. We were called Terrans once. We built ships that crossed black space. We believed we could stand among the stars as equals. His hands tightened. Then came the siege of Saul. The coalition promised peace. Instead, they destroyed everything. Arya listened without speaking. She had read the history once in the cold words of imperial records. Human rebellion suppressed. Sector Terra cleared. But hearing it from his mouth made the story real. They said humanity was gone, she said softly. Elias shook his head. Some of us survived. Hidden on mining worlds, broken colonies, old war stations. But scattered survivors are not a people. We became rumors, ghosts. Arya looked at him with quiet respect. Then let the ghosts rise again. He turned toward her, his eyes searching her face. "You speak like you believe that." "I do," she said. "Because your kind still has something the galaxy fears, and willpower." For the first time he almost smiled. It was small, but it softened the lines of his face. A voice spoke from the intercom. "Commander Valen, the Council requests your presence in 2 hours." Arya acknowledged the call. When she looked back, Elias had crossed his arms. "The Council will not like me here." "They will accept it," she said firmly. "You are part of my mission now." "Mission?" he asked. "There is a gathering of the outer clans. They want war. I must keep them from attacking the border colonies." "And you plan to bring a human into that meeting?" "Yes," she said. "Because I want them to see what the Empire tried to erase." Elias studied her for a long moment. "Then I will come." 2 hours later, the council chamber was alive with tension. Dozens of alien leaders sat around a long table of white crystal. Their eyes turned as Arya entered, tall and composed in her silver armor. Behind her walked Elias, silent and proud. Whispers spread like a wave. "A human?" one voice hissed. "Impossible," another spat. "They should have stayed extinct." Arya ignored them. She reached the center of the room.
"This is Elias Kane," she said clearly.
"He will speak for humanity." A cold laugh came from a scaled warlord at the far end. "Speak for ghosts." Elias met the alien's golden eyes. "Ghosts do not need permission to haunt the living." The room fell silent. The warlord's smile faded. Arya took her seat and began the report, but she could feel the eyes of every leader fixed on Elias. When the meeting ended, an elder of the council approached her privately. "Commander Valen," he said, "this human is dangerous." "You risk the peace you have built." Arya's voice was calm. "Peace built on fear is no peace at all." When she left, Elias waited near the door. "They will not forgive you for bringing me here," he said quietly. "Then we will give them something greater to remember," she answered. That night, alarms broke the quiet of the station. Red lights flashed across the corridors. Arya and Elias ran to the command deck. "Report," Arya ordered. "Unknown ships approaching fast. Pirate signatures, possibly the Rak clans," the officer shouted. Elias stepped forward. "They are not pirates. That formation is military. They will strike the engines first." "How do you know?" Arya asked. "Because it's how I would do it," he said simply. She gave him a quick nod. "Then help me stop them." Within minutes, Elias took command of a tactical console. His hands moved quickly across the screen, reprogramming the defense drones. The officers watched in surprise as he redirected the energy grid to shield the outer ring. "Drones, group by 5, he said. "Focus on their lead ship. They expect scattered fire and give them precision." The station shook with the first hit. Explosions lit the sky outside, but under Elias's command, the defense network shifted like a living creature. Drone wings cut through the enemy line, slicing engines and blinding sensors. Within 10 minutes, the attackers began to retreat. Cheers filled the deck. Arya turned to Elias. "How did you know all that?" He gave a faint smile. "Old habits. Before the war, I was a strategist." She looked at him with new understanding. "Then you are not just a survivor. You are a weapon." He shook his head. "A man who remembers." When the fires were out, Arya walked with him through the quiet hall. "The council will ask how a human saved their station," she said. "Then tell them the truth," Elias replied. "That humanity still remembers how to fight." The next morning, the council met again. This time, their voices were uncertain. Some demanded that the human be exiled. Others said he had saved their lives. The debate grew louder until Arya rose from her seat. "You call him a savage," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Yet when your ships burned, it was he who protected you. You call humanity extinct, but their spirit still saves your world. Perhaps you should decide who the real savages are." No one spoke. Even the warlord from before lowered his eyes. Elias stepped forward beside her. "My world is gone," he said. "But if you choose to fight for life instead of power, then maybe humanity was not lost. Maybe it lives here, among you." The hall was silent for a long moment. Then the elder of the council spoke softly. "What do you want, human?" Elias looked at Arya, then back at them. "A future." Later, as the meeting ended, Arya and Elias stood together by the great window overlooking space. Ships moved like fireflies against the stars. Below them, Kareth Prime turned slowly, gold and blue beneath the twin suns. "They will not trust me," Elias said. Trust takes time, she replied. But you gave them hope. That is more powerful. He looked at her, his voice quiet. You risked everything for me. Why? Arya smiled. Because I believe the galaxy needs what humanity had. Courage, heart, and defiance. Maybe the universe forgot those things. Maybe you will remind it. Elias nodded slowly. Then I will stay. Not as a pet, not as a relic, but as a soldier. And as my partner, Arya said softly. He met her eyes. There was no fear in them now, only steady strength. Then we rebuild, Commander Velan, she smiled. Together. Outside, the first human-made beacon in centuries blinked to life on the edge of the Viral station, a small light in the vast dark. It sent a message across space, simple and clear. Humanity endures. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the stars seemed to listen.